He's the guy who has the
like locked into. So
Somebody's got a big
my
robot
God.
in there though.
Hi.
Nice.
hello.
What are you up to? How's it look?
We got one side done.
All right.
Now it's time for the other.
Dr. Peter. Decorating the garage door.
Oh, don't go down.
Mr. Paul. Pie on his hand.
Assuming things
How's it going now?
should get a better visual for this picture.
Your better
I
side.
think they want to keep it PG.
Well,
Did you lose the tape or was it making it too big?
What's
Oh
that?
boy.
Was
No,
the tape making
it-
too thick?
Yeah, the hole is like just the right size.
So John's got a tire pressure gauge that does not work. It says 0 whenever we, or whenever he puts it to a tire.
I used to have an
Do we need
sensor,
a?
and
We
now
must
I
need a
just go to the
screwdriver.
camera,
Yeah,
check the
one of
remote.
those
Okay.
small.
So basically what this is
Small
going to
ones.
do is
Okay,
turn these
let's go
little
see if
tiny
we can
pulses.
find one.
I have to have a real tire probably to test it. But
Well, we've
got
got
a
a pick
couple-
of cars outside, so.
So they're going to be like a couple of milliseconds.
Got my camera working.
so this thing is this guy's idea
here.
was to the IR remote sends out a stream of
It's not very
Whoa.
exciting.
and he wants
That's
to convert
cool.
the stream to a simple pulse
It's more cool when you're actually driving the
using
robot around,
a
but
one-shot
can't do that when it's on
circuit
blocks.
to
Well, that's
generate
okay.
a simple pulse
That's
when
really
any
neat.
remote button is pushed.
Yeah.
Better than not working, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it has like 3 watch battery type batteries.
And to go back to the
And there's
data
another
sheet,
screw
that's the-
here that when I unscrewed it at home, but when I was putting it together, the screw
Yeah.
fell
So
into
here's-
the.
here's
Oh.
I don't think it was essential. This knob there kept it together, but
So
Oh, that's yeah. As a matter of fact, that's what the problem was last week was the LED
And
would
Tim
just
and Dennis
flicker, right? It would just
Oh.
flicker.
Working
So
on
with
whatever
this,
that is.
it should
Oh,
be
there, I got
on
the screw.
steady, right? That's the
Screw
difference,
got it.
right?
yeah.
Sweet. Maybe that was like it. Maybe
But
that
I
was
think
what.
I just
No, it was not
wired
working
it.
right.
That's all.
Is this the data sheet here?
That one, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So
Tim can.
basically what you want to do
Let's see.
is more like this, where this stays
Brains
on
in
as it gets
progress.
re-triggered.
More brains in progress.
Okay.
See here? It keeps going. And
Pointing that at
and
me.
then, and then if they're mismatched, you're going to get these little
I like taking
Spikes
video of
going
people
down,
hacking.
Either that or
Okay,
I'm
so
breaking
the
it.
vibration is just going to be because of the off-balance motor. So you just want it on and on. Okay. Alright, so you want this.
So that's got the LED screen. Does it look like there are any
this.
blown capacitors?
I think
Only
you know.
one
I think the
looks
main thing
okay.
is
It's
we
not
should just get
corroded
it to
or
work with the
anything.
LED and
Yeah.
and just see.
It was sitting in the
we can
car.
get it-
What you
if
want-
I can see
Shouldn't
what's
have
wrong
been
with
exposed
the
to
What you want
moisture or anything.
is to be
Yeah.
on-
It's on your shelf, right?
Right.
So I had this off-balance motor, wherever
Right.
that went, you know, and I just wanted to put it inside a box with some springs, right? So yeah, there it is right there. So I was just, the idea was you build a base for your bobblehead and you
Shake the
just
base.
shake the base and then you shake the bobblehead. So even though it's up there on your shelf, you can shake it. So
Right.
that part we did last week, but then we didn't have the remote control part of it.
Oh, see, I just want
Working.
IR to turn it on and off.
Right, right.
Yeah, alright. Okay, I think I know what we're trying to do now. So, and you've got-
And yeah, we did it last week. We had the IR sensor, but it pulses whenever the IR is on, right? So this
Yeah.
not this circuit using a 555 timer is supposed to turn it into a steady pulse.
Turn it
So
on. Turn it
so
on.
you just gonna turn the remote into a momentary switch that you hold to make it run and let go to let it stop. That's
Wow.
the idea.
Which one to like toggle it on and then toggle it off?
I don't know. I just want to get it to work. Basically, I don't really know. In fact, there's another feature that I got to do beyond that, which is a lot of these robots have, or these bobbleheads have sound. So the next step would be to hack a switch to make it play the sound. But
Alright.
Okay.
So where's your-
What is that? Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So what was wrong with it? That's it. Okay. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh. The house is complete. Ah.
If she's missing tonight, come out here. She'll be playing with the door.
Or under the
Oh my
door.
gosh. It's gonna
So
be
now
awesome.
you need to find the clicker.
I have the clicker.
Okay.
I know exactly where it is.
All right. Go grab it.
Right now?
We can test that.
Okay. Going.
While we're at it.
Going. Gone.
So what? Oh, I see. That's not via the. Yeah, I took out the.
There were some bad batteries.
Shoot, I wish I would have brought the McMinions because this blows air out then.
No, the other way. Or I can't, I think it sucks air out.
This is our robot from our first robotics competition, which is a high school robotics program. Every year we build a new robot. Hopefully, last year we tried to build 2, we got about 1.5. We tried to make 2 identical ones because at the end of the build time frame, we have to put this one in a bag, and then we want to have a second one that we can practice with and make more modifications, and then replicate those modifications when we bring it to competition, where we're allowed to work on it again. So each year,
When is it that you're ready, allowed to work on it again? When does it start? I was trying to remember.
first Saturday in January, or first Saturday after the holidays, whatever makes sense for the first
Okay.
Saturday. That isn't, holiday encumbered. And then you get like 6.5 weeks. And then usually the rules can change, but the last few years it's been, you gotta put it all in a bag, but you're allowed to like take 30 pounds of it and continue to work on it. So often you take off sort of the critical part of the one that is most important. You're gonna get the most value out of continuing to work on it. So you can continue to work on those 30 pounds until your competition, which might be a week and a half later, it might be 6 weeks later. Now the idea of doing the 2 robots at once is you put one in the bag, you got a second replica of it. Now you can continue to practice with that, and you can say, oh, if we change this motor out for that motor, it'll work better. So you get a list of the things that you want to do, and then when you bring it to the competition, you've got like a whole day of
30 pounds worth.
well, you can bring 30 pounds and tack it on, but you can also make changes to what's still in the bag.
So you put all your spare parts in the bag.
Well, no, you can bring spare parts. You can bring as much raw materials and COTS components, unmodified stuff. The 30 pounds is only the modified, fabricated stuff. That's what that applies to. So every year the game challenge is a little bit different. Some constant things are relatively constant, although they're not guaranteed to be. The game will have
I
a
say
3
combos, does that make you excited?
3 versus 3 competition.
Yeah.
And they're typically like 2 minutes and 15-second competitions. So
I would.
it's on a 27 by 54 foot.
They're in the
Playing
file
field.
somewhere, I just haven't gotten to it.
So I was thinking 3 versus 3 was kind of new for this last year. Like the
No.
co-op part of it was kind of new this year.
Well, the cooperation thing has been sort of varied year to year.
Okay.
But it's been 3 versus 3 for the last 6-7 years or something like that. Okay, so this thing was designed to throw frisbees, or shoot frisbees.
They have the amplifiers, they don't
yeah.
have the.
So yeah, frisbees, you basically drove the robot up to the wall of the field, and there's a slot in the wall, and so what they call the human player would slide the frisbee through the slot, and it would end up in here like that. Ideally, that wasn't really,
If it was heavy enough.
and if our geometry was a little more optimal, but so that didn't always work real well. And then we've got solenoids down here. I keep on calling them solenoids. They're servo motors on the left and right that'll push this thing up to where it catches to these spinning wheels. We spin the first one a little slower than the second one, so it accelerates
Oh,
as it
sure.
goes through. And it launches out here. We got a lead screw over here with a motor on it that lets this whole thing pivot so we can aim up and down. And of course we can turn the whole robot to aim left and right. Camera up here, so you can see the camera on where the drivers are driving this thing. The first 15 seconds of the match are autonomous, so the drivers are not operating the robot. So you pre-program the robot to try to score some points during the first 15 seconds, and in the Frisbee case, all the goals that you could shoot for counted double points during autonomous.
It's like a big wall that has like rectangles open in it at different levels, and so there's different scores that you can
Right.
get for hitting the different rectangles. some of the rectangles are big, some of them are high, you know.
Right. The highest one is the smallest one, then they're a little bit bigger as you go down a little bit, and then they have a really big, really low one for teams that are like rookies or don't want to really, or don't feel that they have the ability to build something to shoot. They can just have a robot that essentially dumps them in this hole. Very few teams did that. Last year was a basketball game, and it was sort of similar. We had standard basketballs like you see in a gymnasium, basketball hoops. But there were 4 of them. There was one high one, 2 mid ones, and a low one. And
But there was actually an aspect to that one where humans were shooting too, right?
well, and there is to this game too.
Oh, really?
There's humans throwing frisbees.
Oh, I didn't-
In fact, I think most, if not all, of the points that our team scored were down to humans, 'cause this year was not a real successful year.
Oh, what's in it?
This robot's made, all the green stuff on here is plywood. It's a high grade 9-ply birch, which is sort of a unique thing for our team. There's not a lot of teams that build with plywood unless they're like new rookie teams that don't know any better. But this was CNC cut at RCTC, all these pieces. Well,
Nice.
some of them have additional manual cuts because we used to have extra wood that was built up over here because we had more grandiose plans that never really came to fruition. The other part of the game that I haven't explained, other than shooting frisbees, was we had these about 9-foot pyramids that were made out of steel bars.
Kind of like jungle gyms from old-fashioned.
Right, and think of an old-fashioned, think of an Egyptian pyramid in a wireframe thing with 3 rungs of horizontal bars around the perimeter of the thing, and smaller. Those smallers go up.
And the
there
robot
was
was
a
supposed to grab onto it and climb up, right?
So yeah, the bonus points are to grab these bars and climb this pyramid. Although the rule is, once you grab the first bar, you have to get your robot off the floor before you can touch the second bar.
Oh.
And once you touch the second bar, you can't touch the third bar until you're no longer touching the first bar. So you can't just build something that just reaches way up to the top bar and winches yourself up. You have to sort of do it in series.
Tricky.
And also at the very top of the pyramid was another frisbee goal, and so not a lot, but a number of robots were designed to take up to 4 frisbees, I think was the limit, and climb the pyramid with the frisbees and then dump them in this goal. You can also try to shoot for the goal, but they were sort of hard to hit from the floor.
It's pretty complicated.
So yeah, they give you a bunch of tiers of tasks that you can try to accomplish. You know, you got the low goal, which is relatively easy to score in. Then you got these bigger goals, and smaller goal for more
And then
points.
some teams also come up with a defensive strategy too, where they're just trying to mess up other teams, right?
Right. So one high-end offensive strategy was to
Hey, Matt.
set your robot where you get your frisbees from your human player, which is about 54 feet away from the 3-point goal. Well, some robots were designed accurate enough where you'd feed the robot in, and it would shoot at 50 feet with about 80% accuracy.
Wow.
The better ones, and they would just sit there and shoot, and they're getting 3 points every second and a half or whatever their recycle rate was. So once teams had robots that did that, some of them were short like this, some of them were tall. But if you had a short robot, a lot of teams in the middle of the regional competition, it's like, hey, let's take a couple pieces of PVC pipe and some mesh and stick it on our robot, and we'll park right in front of these guys and stop them from doing this. Now they have to try to drive around us and get, because you weren't allowed to bump them out of the way, because at that particular feeding station they were in a protected zone, you couldn't touch them.
Oh.
Other places
Yeah.
where they shoot from,
And unfortunately, I just
you
have
could
the
jostle them around.
either our X or
So
Y.
instead of shooting, some robots are
of the short
blocking.
gear.
Right, you can do a defensive strategy or an offensive strategy, so,
But they didn't get any points, though.
well,
Unless-
10 points scored is just as good as 10 points
Blocked.
prevented, right? So, in
Sure.
theory.
Cool.
Although, there's different tie-breaking rules about the rankings and whatnot. So you do about 10 of these matches with randomly partnered up with 2 other teams each time. and then the highest seeded teams pick alliance partners for the elimination tournament, elimination phase of the thing that happens on Saturday afternoon. And so you got eight teams of 3 that play down to the champion, and then if you
Yeah, I was just
and
having
that you
buzz
go
out
off to
eBay
the
looking for
off to
this
the World
animal
Championships
for
in
sale,
St. Louis,
see if someone had linked to the-
which has been there. This will be the 4th year in a row that's been there.
Cool.
And that's played at the Edward Jones Dome where the Rams play. And they have 4 of these, or actually 5 of these 27 by 54 foot fields set up, and they have like 400 teams that show up there. So it's got a processor in here, down here, which actually has a PowerPC processor in it. For those of you who are familiar with
I
that
remember to put my PlayStation
particular one.
Fine architecture.
Yeah. Although they just announced that not this coming year, but the season after, it's going to be an ARM-based processor, and they're replacing the whole thing. So, which has a lot of advantages because obviously things are newer. So we got motors, we got motor controllers. There's some more motor controllers under there. This is just a wireless router that
The internet's just.
is what lets me talk to it.
Never mind. Just-
The camera. This has got a 6-wheel drive. So there's 3 on each side. The center wheel is slightly dropped from the other 2, so that at any given time only 4 wheels are touching, which gives you a much better turning
This
radius.
side of the table. Do either of you want
And,
some, fluorescent
Any
light?
questions?
Did you say what the power source was?
Power source is a battery that looks hiding in there, but I got another one here. So
Like a 9-volt or 12-volt battery.
12-volt battery, looks like that.
Do you have a remote control I can borrow?
And what else?
A relaxing day of
It has a gyroscope on it, which we didn't really use, but we programmed it now so I can make use of it. Motors don't always turn the same rates, so
low on
there's some
battery.
set voltage.
So I was just wondering if I could just
It can
borrow any
help you drive straight,
remote control,
help you rotate, 90 degrees exactly or whatever,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah.
A couple years ago, we used a gyroscope for what we call field-oriented drive. We had, you know what Mecanum wheels are? Most people don't. They're really funky wheels. I can show you the videos online, but you basically put 4 wheels on the robot, and on each wheel is these rubber rollers that are mounted at a 45-degree angle.
Oh, I've seen those.
Okay.
And if you spin it backwards or something, it goes sideways.
Well, basically the force vector that it imparts for the robot, for this wheel here, it'll either go this way or that way, depending which way you spin the wheel. So if you send, if you push this corner that way and that corner that way and this corner this way and this corner this way, then it goes forward. But if you send them all, you can make it go spin counterclockwise. So through the magic of trig and other math, the software basically says, if I push the joystick forward, it'll go forward. If I push the joystick forward and twist it to the right, it'll go forward and spin as it goes.
No, you don't wait too much. I'm ready for nap.
So with field-oriented drive, when you drive this robot, if I push it forward, on this one, it's always going to go this. This is always going to go that way. If it's rotated 180 degrees, then it's going to go that way. With field-oriented drive, if I push the joystick forward, it doesn't matter which way the robot's pointing, it's going to move away from me.
Play guitar.
Because the gyroscope is added into the angle.
Building, yes.
No.
So you take where you're pushing the joystick, you add in the gyro angle,
You gotta come and see
and
the
it
guitar.
pretends as if you move the joystick that way.
Earlier this week,
Right?
I guess. So I'm-
So, LabVIEW sponsored you, but you're not using their software.
I can explain that. Ask me later. So yeah. Now I see you taking the camera with
He thought I had it.
It was just this really low power.
Is it working?
it. It is.
It's making noise.
What's the next step?
All those
We have to put
things.
the knobs in up here.
We're gonna have to do the hole in the top of the soundboard there
Yeah,
I broke the other end of the wire.
before we can glue the neck in.
for sure.
So this,
Or we could just leave it like that.
Nope. And we have to fabricate the nut here.
And the bridge.
oh,
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
There it is.
Yeah, along those lines, only lighter.
And awesomer looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's about when we'd start to do the holes for the tuners.
He knocked himself off. Behind your back at all times. It's
You know you're good with you're the one getting out. Why isn't he wearing it?
His arm was out, no fall, it's still 1-0. Get back on the left side. Keep on! All times, if you have your problem, grab your belt. That is a good way to keep it back there because you have something to grab.
John, you're already falling off and nothing.
Alright, you guys ready? Commence.
Oh my god. He's beating himself up.
How about like this?
No, I saw it.
That was a tug of war.
Alexis, hit her. Alexis, hit
Whoa!
Ball, 1-1.
other side.
Well done. Be the winner and commence.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, and he just.
Oh my gosh!